I wanted to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you who watched and commented on my last video. Regardless of whether you agreed or disagreed with the video, I appreciate each and every one of you. Except this guy. Don't be like this guy. Alright, so before we get into breaking down the various arguments used to support both Gamefreak and Sword and Shield, I want to re-clarify exactly what I was talking about in my last video. I've been getting a lot of comments like these. You only looked at one move. You're mostly complaining that the one move hasn't been changed. You look at one move and nothing else. Why only about double kick? Alright, so I wasn't as clear as I wanted to be. When I was referring to 3DS animations, as in plural, as in more than one, I was referring to all of the animations, not just double kick. This includes idle animations. Pokemon attack animations, damage animations, fainting animations, and yes, this includes Pokemon learnable move animations. Every single Pokemon from the older generations outside of Generation 8 will be using their recycled 3DS animations. This must account for at least 90% of all the animations in the game. Yes, I'm aware there are new animations with regards to Dynamax and the new Pokemon, because none of those were in the 3DS, so Gamefreak had to go out of their way and make new animations with regards to those. But every single Pokemon prior to Generation 8 will be using old 3DS animations. Some people have brought to my attention that the word lazy does not accurately reflect Gamefreak's negligence. I'm inclined to agree, so I did some digging and I found the perfect word. Apathetic. It basically means uncaring. So my statement from my last video is as follows. Gamefreak is apathetic when it comes to Pokemon battle animations in Sword/Shield because they are ripping 3DS animations and are placing them in their Switch titles, without properly adjusting them to appropriately match the level of quality that can now be achieved due to increased hardware capabilities. So, what does this mean exactly? No, I do not want Gamefreak to make entirely new animations for every single old Pokemon. I simply want lesser quality animations to be more expressive and made of a higher quality, by adding more inherent expression, which is what Gamefreak is claiming they are doing, and as a consequence of that, the National Dex is being removed. The same thing can be said for the Pokemon models. There's an excellent video concerning the Pokemon models in Sword and Shield, I'll leave a link in the description. But what that video basically says is that Gamefreak does not need to make entirely new Pokemon models, they just need to make new higher quality textures. Why do they need new high quality textures? Because the Nintendo Switch can support much higher resolution. The same logic can be applied to the animations. The Nintendo Switch is capable of supporting much higher quality level of animations. So now that we got that out of the way, let's get started. This is the Nintendo Wii. He's one of the best-selling Nintendo consoles, but he's not very strong. This is the Nintendo Switch, otherwise known as the most powerful Nintendo console to ever exist. The Wii came out in 2006. The Switch came out in 2017, 11 years later. Which one is more capable of higher quality animations? We're going to start off with the Battle Simulator argument. Pokemon Battle Revolution for the Nintendo Wii, even to this day, is still the golden standard when it comes to 3D animated Pokemon battles on a console. That is why Sword and Shield is always inevitably compared to PBR when it comes to animations. Let's look at some comments that try to explain why PBR's animations are better than Sword and Shield's. You understand the fact that Battle Revolution is a fighting game? while traditional Pokemon is a RPG? A quick rule of thumb. People that defend Sword and Shield with regards to animations never try and convince you that the animations are good. They usually always try and excuse and find reasons for why the animations are bad. In this case, Pingle is using genre as an excuse for why Sword and Shield looks worse than PBR. I agree that Pokemon Battle Revolution mainly focuses on Pokemon battles. However, Pingle failed to acknowledge the technological disparity of the hardware available to the two games, as well as the amount of time between the two games. PBR didn't come out yesterday, it didn't come out 5 years ago, it didn't come out 10 years ago. PBR came out 13 years ago. PBR was not released for the Switch, it was released for the Nintendo Wii, which is much weaker than the Switch. The RPG excuse opens up a lot of holes because now that allows you to compare Pokemon to other RPGs. But seeing as how that could be a whole video in itself, for simplicity's sake we will stick to Pokemon. And we will compare Sword and Shield to another 3D console Pokemon title that is an RPG. Pokemon Colosseum and Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, two titles that came out for the Nintendo GameCube. These two titles have all the same traditional Pokemon RPG elements, and they also have better animations, even though they were developed for the Nintendo GameCube 15 years ago. Alright, the comparison between Battle Revolution and a full-fledged Pokemon game is a bit cheap. One game is literally only Pokemon fights, so all the effort is put into that, and the other is a large open-world, story-driven game with multiple set pieces, and more dialogue and items. HighGamer51 here is claiming that it is cheap to compare a 13-year-old Wii game from 2006 to a Nintendo Switch title in 2019. That logic alone seems very flawed, and I would think the opposite. It is actually cheap to compare a 2019 Switch title to anything from the Wii because the Switch can do way more than the Wii ever could. HighGamer also dips into the genre and overall game mechanics. If PBR came out yesterday on the Switch with its high definition, high quality animations, I would be inclined to agree with HighGamer. Both Battle Revolution for the Switch and Pokemon Sword and Shield for the Switch would have similar resources, but one focused on one thing, while a different game had to focus on a whole bunch of other different things. However, this is not the case. Pokemon Battle Revolution didn't come out yesterday. It came out 13 years ago on the Nintendo Wii. The GameCube titles, which didn't focus on Pokemon fights, also did animations better. I mean, I see what you're saying, but you showed a lot of clips from Pokemon Arena games, like Pokemon Stadium. Right off the bat, Please Do Nothing to the Cook immediately weakened his defense by comparing a 2019 Switch title to an N64 game from the 90s. Yes, Please Do Nothing is defending Sword and Shield against an N64 game. Please Do Nothing is excusing why Pokemon Stadium from 20 years ago has better animations than Sword and Shield. But he continues, which is basically just battles, so it makes sense to animate the moves. With this statement, Please Do Nothing is admitting to moves not being animated in Sword and Shield. Games in 2019 need to be animated. That is just a standard across all games of all genres. Pokemon Sword and Shield is going to be much bigger than those games, especially in areas like maps and towns and such. So you can't get everything basically. Again, Please Do Nothing is not trying to convince us that Sword and Shield animations look good. He is just bringing excuses as to why they look worse than an N64 game. Sometimes when reading the comments, I'm pleasantly surprised when someone is hit with rationality. So I at first was going to say it isn't fair to compare this game with Battle Revolution, because that entire game is dedicated to the battle animations, while this game has an entire open world story to deal with. Then I remembered that this console is 2 generations of consoles newer, and could for sure run those animations even with the open world aspect. And if they are only having a regional dex, they have no excuse to not animate the moves and individual Pokemon during battle. Congratulations, Faulkner, you are 100% correct. The Switch, surprisingly, can in fact support high quality animations in games on that console. Stop attacking them for an unfinished game. complains about incomplete game. It's not out yet. The game's not finished. It's not out yet. People really love resorting to this argument. With regards to animations of the older Pokemon, the state of the game is completely irrelevant. How do I know that it's irrelevant? Because they ripped all of the animations from the 3DS games and put them into the Switch. The animations for the older Pokemon are already finished. Gamefreak isn't adding new animations to these Pokemon, they are just reusing the old ones. I don't think anyone understands that the game isn't finished. Chill the F out. There is another reason why the state of the game is irrelevant. Kazurian points this out. Oh yes, just like how the Let's Go games changed everything once they came out, right? Exactly. That's like saying Let's Go is a demo. Let's Go is not a demo. And uses the exact same ripped 3DS animations that Sword and Shield will be using. Nah, they aren't going to change animations even though this is just a demo. Trust me, I know. Do you know how I know that Game Freak won't change any of these animations? Because that is who Game Freak are as a company, as a developer. This clip I'm about to show you perfectly sums up exactly who Game Freak is. For those of you who don't understand the context of a clip, there's something called the Pokemon Battle Frontier, which was first introduced in Pokemon Emerald for the Game Boy Advance. It is highly regarded as one of the best post-game additions to a Pokemon game. Fans have been asking for a Battle Frontier comeback for a very long time. When Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire were announced, people got very excited and expected Battle Frontier to make a return, finally. So, what did Game Freak do? Instead of adding in the Battle Frontier, they instead mocked the player, spit in their face, and basically said that they will never be going to the Battle Frontier ever again. That is who Game Freak truly is. They go out of their way to mock the fans of their games. It doesn't even look the same. It's not the same animation. LOL, that's not the same animation. Not identical. That animation is not identical. It's not the exact same. The main concern of my last video was animation quality and Pokemon expressiveness. When I mention animation quality, I'm referring to the actual physical Pokemon model. A lot of you guys are getting super obsessed with camera angles and the color of the visual effects of the attack. My video was not concerned with more expressive camera angles or more expressive attack effects. The main concern of my video was the expressiveness of the physical Pokemon model. All you need to look at is the physical Pokemon model and you will realize that all of the animations are the exact same between all of the games. When I was comparing the animations found in PBR, I wasn't comparing the visual effects of the attack. I was comparing the actual animations of the models. I'm not concerned with more expressive visual effects of attack. I'm concerned with the expressiveness of the Pokemon. And no, I don't want a unique animation for Double Kick for every single Pokemon. I just want an animation. Literally anything. Take a look at this Double Kick animation of Cyndaquil in PBR. Don't worry about the visual effects of the attack, just focus on the Pokemon model. Cyndaquil doesn't actually kick, it just spins its body into the Pokemon. Cyndaquil is not using a unique animation, it is using one of its default attack animations. All of the Game Freak 3D Pokemon games do the exact same thing. These are the three main differences between the PBR Double Kick animation and any of the 3D Game Freak games animations for Double Kick. Number 1. The Pokemon runs up. Game Freak has had access to both walking and running animations since Sun and Moon. Game Freak can easily implement this into Pokemon battles because the animations are already finished. Number 2. The Pokemon models physically interact with each other. This enhances the realism and makes the fights significantly more engaging. Once again, Gamefreak can easily make one model run up to another one. The running animations for all of the old Pokemon have been finished since 2016, 3 years ago. And number 3, the Pokemon is actually animated. Let's take Gamefreak's Blaziken as an example. They can just use his running animation from Sun and Moon, have him run up to the opposing Pokemon, and then have him use one of his 3 default attack animations. The animation that would make the most sense with the context of Double Kick would be Blaziken's 3rd animation. Yes, it's not actually a kick, it's more of a knee, but it still has way more expression and makes way more sense than just vertically displacing the model with no animations at all. Gamefreak has all of these animation assets already finished. They wouldn't even need to make any new animations. Alright you guys, that's it for this video. Believe it or not, that was only 3 arguments out of the 20 that I have saved up. I originally intended to include all arguments into a single video, but when I reached my 3rd argument and I noticed I was approaching the 20-minute mark, that's when I knew I had to break the video into parts. So look forward to part 2 coming up in the near future. I plan to continue using more PBR footage, so if there's a particular Pokemon that you want to be showcased in the PBR footage, make sure to leave the name of that Pokemon down below in the comment section. Always remember, don't settle for less, fight for more. Thanks for watching, you guys.